What's up, agents? Zer here, welcome back to the lab. Today I'm going to be showing you guys a little trick that you can use to go ahead and make multiple copies of books and maps. Now, I am going to go ahead and admit this right now. This is not a new trick. This has been in the game for, well, honestly, I don't even know how long. It's been in the game for quite a while. It's actually fairly useful, things considered. It's actually pretty simple to go ahead and do. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, as I said in the intro, you're basically making copies of books and maps. And the reason why you do this is so that it makes it a whole lot easier to go ahead and make multiples. That's kind of the whole point of it. So let's go ahead and start off with the map. So we have ourselves a map right here. It's a basic map of the lab, obviously, and apparently it's cutting off like half of the lab. I'm not sure what to do about that. So yeah, you just make yourself a basic map, and you can also make yourself a locator map if you really want to. And you can also make this map any size you really want. And part of the reason why people will use this particular trick with maps is maybe you want to make map rooms of the exact same place in multiple locations of your base, or if you're building a custom map, or maybe if you're on a multiplayer world or just a single player world anyway, and you make like some sort of pixel art and you put it on a map, put it in an item frame, you get yourself a custom painting that you can put pretty much anywhere in your world. People tend to do that quite often, and you want to be able to place it in multiple places. Well, this is actually pretty simple to do, all things considered. So I can go ahead and place this map, and I want to go ahead and mention you can place this map practically anywhere within the crafting table. I actually shouldn't even say practically anywhere. You can put actually anywhere inside this thing. You can also do this inside of your 2x2 crafting window if you really want to, but obviously you wouldn't be making quite as many copies. So all you have to do is put your maps in, and already, as you can tell, I've got 2 copies of this map just from this 2-piece crafting recipe alone. And obviously, as you expect, if I go ahead and fill up the entire crafting table, now I've got exactly 9 copies of the exact same map. And as I said before, there are people that like to make custom art using maps, which is perfectly fine and all. I don't mind that a lot. I personally am not the kind of person that does it because I'm just not skilled enough to do something like that. But this is exactly how you would go about making multiple copies of the exact same map. So it's actually pretty simple, all things considered. Now we're actually moving on to books, and these are written books, as you can obviously tell. So if I go ahead and look at the information, so it's got information, it's called Test by Author Unknown. I just kind of did just the basic just to get this up, and it also says original. I can go ahead and open it up. It just says test book. It's really nothing all too interesting. I do want to mention that right now. So you use the exact same trick in order to go ahead and make multiple copies of whatever book you have made. However, this method using the written books is slightly different than the maps, but not completely different. It uses the exact same technique. So as you can tell, now we've got ourselves only 1 item inside of the output crafting recipe as opposed to multiple, which is how it worked with the maps. And here's the reason. This one says it's the original. This one says copy of the original. So you can go ahead and pull this out. It's the exact same book. I can go ahead and open up the second book, and it's the exact same book. It's got the exact same information. The only difference is the fact that technically says copy of original. Now, if I am not mistaken, I have not tested these yet, but if I am not mistaken, you can put the copy of the original and put it in with this, and it says copy of a copy. So I was technically right, so you can go ahead and do that. And again, it only makes one of each. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I take the copy of a copy, I want to assume this time it'll actually end up stacking. I'm not okay, so apparently you can't make a copy of a copy of a copy. Okay, so that does make sense. You can technically do this as many times as you technically have book and quills, but obviously, as you can tell, no matter what, actually, you know what, if I go ahead and put this in here and I go ahead and put in multiple inside here, they actually will technically stack. So now I actually have 3 of these copy of original. So if I go ahead and pull this out, and I can do the exact same thing with the copy of a copy. So I will be able to technically be able to stack these without a problem. So that is something good to know. So you've got yourself the original, you've got yourself the copy of original, and you have yourself the copy of the copy. And obviously the original not going to stack whatsoever. Copy of original and copy of a copy, as you can tell, they do actually stack. But obviously you're going to need to craft yourself a bunch of book and quills, which is pretty much the exact same with the map. The only thing is the book and quills themselves don't actually stack, so it's actually a little bit more difficult. Well, not necessarily 100% more difficult, but it just takes up a little extra room in your inventory when you're trying to set this up. And as I did mention earlier, you can technically go ahead and use your standard 2x2 crafting window if you really want to, and I'll go ahead and show you guys that right now, although admittedly you guys probably believe me. Anyway, so yeah, you can technically do it within your normal crafting window. Obviously you're not going to make quite as many at once as if you were going to use a crafting table, but at least you are still able to do that. Anyway, with that out of the way, I think this is actually where I'm going to go ahead and end off the video. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure that like button. One more, make sure that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This has been Zer0's. Thank you guys for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys later.